Hey guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and in this video, I'm going to do something that I usually don't do. But since it's the 1 year anniversary of the Switch 2, what better way to kick it off than to share my review of the console itself. It has been exactly 12 months, 365 days, and I have to say a lot. I have a lot to say about this baby here. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Of course, before we get into the video, if you end up liking the video, hit that like button. And if you like this video and my other videos, then please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 11k by my birthday, which is June 14th. Hopefully we could get there. If not, that's fine also, no pressure. Oh, and hit that hype button. Let me do a quick disclaimer. This is just my personal thoughts. And of course, if you don't agree with some of the points, do let me know as well. Alrighty, so I'm gonna structure this video with first going over the good. The good of the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is honestly really good for what it does. I love the bigger screen and the bigger Joy-Cons, thank God. Sorry, this one has a bit of dust, but like you could tell the differences. But with the Switch 2, it's really nice, smooth, flat. It's not too thick, it's not too heavy. So ergonomic wise, the Switch 2 is fantastic. Now for the screen, I would have wished they had the OLED model when the Switch 2 came out. Instead, it's more like a glassy LCD screen. But we all know the OLED model is coming down the line. The question is when. I usually play my Switch 2 docked, and I use my Pro Controller. Which, side note, the Pro Controller for the Switch 2 is divine, guys. It is so good. Best controller out there. In my opinion, it is way better than the Switch 1 Pro Controller. But you could also play the Switch 1 Pro Controller with your Switch 2. So for comfortability aspect, this console is the best. I love how they upgraded the feel of the Switch 2 just to make it feel like a more premium console. And also, the raw power that the Switch 2 has was what I was looking for an upgrade from the Switch 1. And you really feel it the moment you boot up the game. Now, a lot of people say the power isn't that big or a big enough boost, but I feel like it's a really big boost. And if you played the OG Switch, you would notice it. And when you go in the eShop, it doesn't lag. Though going back to the OG Switch feels so weird. Like, it feels so weird and dated. But I still love my OG Switch. And when the Switch 2 released, they also introduced Switch 2 upgrades, which I kind of have mixed feelings about, but it essentially makes your Switch 1 games run better on the Switch 2. Some of them you have to pay for, while others are just natively there. The part where you have to pay for some is where I get the mixed feelings for, but I'm not going to get too much into that. The Switch 2 is exactly what I was begging for in the OG Switch days. Most games could run at 60 FPS, although some games still have 30 FPS for some reason, I don't know. But yeah, most games run really good for a handheld device and for a dock device too. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom look absolutely stunning on the Switch 2. So good, especially Tears of the Kingdom. You could feel like the game originally was supposed to come out for the Switch 2, and it just looks amazing. And yes, they did have a Switch 2 upgrade, which I just paid for the upgrade. I didn't go out and buy the Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom because I already have it. And the newer Switch 2 games like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4 look jaw-dropping beautiful. Especially Metroid Prime 4. That game had no reason to be that gorgeous. I'm kind of sad that it didn't get more sales. Those two games are an impressive showcase of what the Switch 2 can do. And while technically it doesn't beat the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, it's still impressive how they got that much power into a handheld console that's not gonna break the bank. I'm looking at you, Rogue Ally X and the Steam Deck. And for what it does, the Switch 2 is probably the best value you could get in a handheld console. Now let's get to the stuff I'm really excited about. Chief among them is the backwards compatibility of the games on the OG Switch, and sometimes they're enhanced. But honestly, knowing Nintendo, I didn't think that they would drop backwards compatibility like some rumors were saying, mainly because all their consoles are backwards compatible to their previous console. And because of the added power with the Switch 2, some games just play better on the Switch 2. The poster child of this phenomenon, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like seriously, that game runs so different on the Switch 2. I mean, the game still looks like garbage, but at least it runs well. On top of that, Nintendo shadow dropped one of the best quality of life features for the console, and that is boost mode. This feature forces backward compatible Switch 1 games to run using dock settings while undocked. So that is it for the good. Now time for the bad. It's not all doom and gloom honestly, but some of them are just pretty annoying. But let's get into it. So the Switch 2 is a fantastic console, but the way Nintendo has been treating the Switch 2 and the overall community around it hasn't been really good. The Switch 2 has been in a ton of controversies for good reason, and now I'm going to get into some of them. And if you guys have listened to any of my videos, you should see this coming, but it is the dreaded keycards. Keycards are honestly the worst thing in gaming, to me personally. Please watch my keycard videos if you're confused on why I don't like keycards, but the short story is, keycards are not entirely physical, but they're not digital either. When you buy a keycard game, the little cartridge is essentially a key to boot up the game. It's a digital game put into a case. Why did they do this? Well, to cut costs on the premium Switch 2 cartridges. Again, watch my videos on keycards, I go more in depth. I myself do not have any keycards. So most of the third-party games that were regulated to keycards, I just bought them for my PlayStation 5. And not gonna lie, I would love to play more games on my Switch 2, but most of them are keycard. Now Square Enix has been taking advantage of keycards for the longest time, and I hate it. I want the Adventures of Elliot on my Switch 2, but I don't want a keycard. You could say with Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's a big game, so they need the keycard cartridge, but with the other games, they don't need it. They're freaking tiny. Now, I do understand that a lot of people don't care about keycards, which is fine, but for me personally, it's one of the biggest shadows in the Switch 2 era. And then this brings the question of the preservation of games, because Nintendo just retroactively made this whole new medium for games where it's not just physical and digital, it's physical, keycard, digital. And they created such a weird atmosphere when it comes to games on the Switch 2. And I'm not even tackling the amount of internet you need nowadays. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But anyways, let's keep it moving because there are other stuff I want to talk about. Number one being, my Switch 2 library is small. And yes, that's mainly because third-party games are keycard games, but still, there hasn't been a lot of first-party support for the Switch 2. And look, I like a lot of games, so I'll keep myself distracted until the next first-party game from Nintendo, but it's been a while. The Switch 2 library has been kind of lackluster lately, and then bundle that in with their variable pricing. So if you guys don't know, variable pricing is essentially picking and choosing what price to make that game, dependent on the work that went into the game. The most iconic example of this is Mario Kart World, coming out at a whopping $80. Now, I didn't pay $80 for Mario Kart because it was bundled with my Switch, but that is an insane price. Now, I will give Nintendo a little bit credit. They have done it in a good way too, where, for example, the Yoshi game is $50 instead of a full $70 game. The variable pricing is not only negative, but I hope we don't ever see an $80 game again. But knowing Nintendo, they're probably gonna do it. And then there's the features that nobody asked for, in my opinion, and that is the mouse controls and the game share feature. So the mouse mode, I don't really feel like it's something I would use a lot. If anything, when I've played on mouse mode, it was the most uncomfortable thing ever, mainly because I play a lot of my games on my bed, and having a mouse on your bed is not really the best idea. So I literally had to go to my desk and play it, and it was just so uncomfortable. And the feature is not even used in a good way, honestly. It really feels like it was a feature that somebody just came up because there wasn't any other features they could think of. And they even released a game dedicated to its mouse mode called Drag and Drive, and it flopped so hard. I'm sorry, it flopped really hard, not only with sales but with reviews as well. I do understand that they wanted to bring in more keyboard and mouse experience, but like, you know that most people who play the Switch are playing in a leisurely area that doesn't have a desk. And if I want to use my mouse and keyboard, I would play a PC game, honestly. And a lot of people forget about the mouse mode altogether. Now, game share is not as bad as mouse mode, but it's basically a Discord for the Nintendo ecosystem. So you can share your gameplay with other friends, which is awesome. But then they kept going. You can share your gameplay, your audio, and even a webcam. And while the Switch 2 is a beefy console, all those inputs are very laggy. I would recommend it that you share mostly your gameplay, not put your picture and all that. That's unnecessary. And plus, for some reason, you have to input your number to get access to game share. I really don't know why they have to ask for your phone number, but that's a thing. And also, you do have to be a Nintendo member to have access to game sharing features. So fundamentally, I'm all for game share. It's just the way they did it, which is weird. And then there is the Nintendo Switch edition of games that were already out for the OG Switch, like the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, they add extra stuff to it to make it more justified in buying it again. Now I will give Nintendo credit, sometimes you could just buy the add-on. It's still not good, but it's better than buying the whole game again. And sometimes the price is not really justified. They literally just made that game look better, and I feel like they're going to lean on a lot of their other games to prop up the Switch 2, kind of how they did with the Wii U games. I feel like that's gonna be the same energy with the Switch games for the Switch 2. And this is weird because Nintendo has so many IPs that they could use. Right now they're currently using Star Fox, and while yes, it's a rehash of the game that they rehashed before, I mean it's still a step forward, but I feel like they're depending on the OG Switch's library a bit too much. Now moving on to a smaller gripe, and that is the Switch 2 battery. It's not that big. So an average game is about 2 to 3 hours in handheld mode. For the original Switch, you could play on handheld mode depending on the game for about 6 hours, which honestly, that's to be expected with the more powerful console, but it doesn't make it less annoying in my opinion. So now for my overall thoughts. Now I have a full year of the Switch 2, and honestly I don't regret buying it, but the Switch 2 does have its problems, like the lack of first-party games, which I wouldn't care as much if the third-party games weren't freaking key cards. But yeah, this is just the first year of the Switch 2. So moving forward, I want to see more third-party games that are not key cards, but let's be honest, they probably are, and some more first-party games. Because honestly, asking people to drop $500 on a console in this economy is no small thing. And while yes, it's cheaper than the other consoles, it's still $500. So I'm hoping that they really lock in to making iconic first-party Nintendo games. Please let me know your experience with the Switch 2 in the comments down below. Do you regret buying it or do you love it? Hit that like button if you liked the video, and please consider subscribing if you're not yet subscribed. I'm trying to get to 11k by my birthday, which is June 14th, and I feel like we might achieve that, but if we don't, that's fine with me, no pressure. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.